Welcome. Happy St. Patty's Day, St. Patrick's Day 2024. Welcome. I'm the host of your Live Courageously podcast show, and this is my second show today. I did a earlier show with a guest, but this is my Irish journey, my Irish story. So it's kind of a special show. I've been scrambling. I've been sick for about a week, so I'm scrambling to put the show together and get it all done in time. So I hope I got most of it. So anyway, I want to take you on a story, and some of you who know about Ireland and know about the history of Ireland, they say if you kiss the Blarney Stone, you have the gift of gab. And I've never kissed the Blarney Stone, but that may be a good thing, because I guess I've got the gift of gab without kissing the stone. So maybe that would get dangerous. But anyway, I'm going to share a story that never expected to have. I always kind of say that whatever plans I had, somehow that wasn't how it all worked out, and God always had a bigger plan for me. So my story starts out, with my parents. Both of my parents came from Ireland. I am first generation American, and my mother, Anne, came from County Mayo in Ireland. Here's a picture of my mother and my dad. So she came from County Mayo, Glandorf in County Mayo on the west coast of Ireland. And my dad came from Northern Ireland, County Tyrone. They both came to Ellis Island and met in New York and in the Bronx and got married and had my brother and myself. My brother's older than me. And so that started a journey. They came here when they were young, 18 years old. They came on ships that took about 6 weeks to make the journey from Ireland to Ellis Island. And then they had to go through the procedure at Ellis Island to either be allowed to come into the country, which at that time meant they had to have a job already. And my mother's sister got her a job as a domestic servant. And my dad somehow had a connection, and he ended up as a butcher in a meat plant. So they got their connections to have jobs, which allowed them to come in legally. They also had to be able to not be sick and not have any issues that would have prevented them from being sent back to Ireland, which a lot of people were. So it wasn't a guarantee that if you made it to Ellis Island that you got into the United States. It was the beginning of the process. And they got through that process. Here's a picture of my dad with his brother. He's on the left-hand side. A lot of people, I'm one of those guys, people say, people look like each other, or you look like your dad. I don't have a clue. But anyway, a lot of people say I look like my dad. So I got a feeling that they're probably righter than I am, because I just can't judge those kind of things. But that's my dad on the left. And then this is a picture of him in his military uniform. He joined the U.S. Army during World War II, and he served in the Army and also served in the Philippines, a very brutal battle against the Japanese at the time, and became a U.S. citizen. And that's the beginning of a journey. Now, my mother never became a citizen. She stayed with her Irish citizenship. And every 10 years, as a kid, I remember going with her to the post office to renew her Irish citizenship. And the reason she didn't become a U.S. citizen was she had this dream that someday, some way, she was going to get to go back home to Ireland. And she did make a trip. Shortly after she came to America, she came in 1928, and in 1932, she went back with her older sister. Whoops, that's not her. I'm going to come back to that picture, but that's a picture of her older sister and her, and they went back. Her older sister paid for it and took her back to a trip to Ireland to reconnect with the family, and that was in 1932, and that was her last time in Ireland. And from that point on, she came back to America and continued to work as a domestic servant, live-in servant. And my dad, unfortunately, died when I was 4 years old in my apartment in the South Bronx, this is a picture of where I grew up, but was born. After I came from the hospital, this is where I lived on the third floor with my parents and my brother. And then at the age of 4, it was in that apartment that I watched my dad die. And it was my first memory, and it was a few years before I have other memories. But that was the beginning, and it was not a memory I wanted to have. But my life changed that day, and our family's life changed that day with him passing from pneumonia. um, and underlying causes that led to it. That took us on a journey where when the neighborhood changed and basically everybody started moving away because it became poorer and more ethnically changed, and it started to do something called white flight. My mother, who was a single mom, a widowed mom, not a single mom, a widowed mom at the time, could not afford to move us out. So we survived on 2 checks, a Social Security check and also a VA veterans check from my dad. And that was basically how we grew up, with those 2 checks, keeping us just barely alive above, in the poverty zone, and being really poor. But my mother did a great job, and never, I just felt like, we were kids growing up in a neighborhood just like everybody else. So I didn't feel that lack that, was clearly there, but for me, it was like I was doing okay. So here's some pictures of my mother when we were little. This is my mother. I'm, of course, on her, if you're looking at the screen, probably on her right side. I'm the small, cute kid, unlike my big brother. I won't say more, but seriously, we always had a competition, me and my brother, great guy, and that's my brother Patrick, and then named after my dad, and that's my mother Ann. And then this is a picture of my mother later with my niece Jennifer, my dad's daughter, and so that's a picture of her as well. So that was the beginning of a journey that took us. I'm getting a message here from Seamus from County Tipperary. All right, Seamus, thank you. Happy St. Patrick's Day. And also a message from Happy Feast of St. Patrick from Ken. Thank you, Ken. So that became the beginning of our family's journey and our journey. And so as a kid, and the reason I share this story, I share this story because I never expected to be who I am today, doing what I'm doing today. I have accomplished or been to places I've been to today. And it's just, in so many ways, it feels like a movie and not something that I really experienced, that somehow this all came together. But as a kid, my first Irish, few Irish memories, since it is St. Patrick's Day, is that the memories were that every St. Patrick's Day, we would go to the St. Patrick's Day parade on 5th Avenue in Manhattan with my mom. And eventually my brother, as he got older, since he was 4 years older than me, kind of grew out of it and started to refuse to go. And he was kind of embarrassed to go because my neighborhood wasn't Irish. It was Puerto Rican and Black. And that's who we assimilated with. And that's who we felt part of the culture with. So he kind of used his old brother privilege and pushed my mom to let him not go to the parade. But I had to go every St. Patrick's Day. But it was a great time to be with my mom and watch her, just the happiness in her eyes as the culture, as the bagpipes, as the, here, just to give an example, a picture of the bagpipes marching up 5th Avenue on St. Patrick's Day. And of course, it always was kind of like a rainy and dreary, just kind of like the weather in Ireland kind of day. And so I would always complain and whine, as a kid, like, can we get out of here? But my mom just she had to see her County Mayo and their parade group march through before she would even consider that we might want to go home at that point. But there was no consideration before County Mayo came. So I kind of got used to that unfortunate phenomena for me. But at the same time, like I said, it was, the music was amazing, the happiness, the spirit of party, the spirit of just culture and love of the Irish people was something that was very special at the time. So that's kind of one of my Irish memories. And my second Irish memory was in the 1st grade at St. Pius Catholic School in the Bronx, in the South Bronx, was performing in a play. And that was before the neighborhood changed ethnically. And I performed the Irish jig. So at that point, I was clearly an Irish American kid with Irish heritage, and was able to be part of that. But then my like I said, the neighborhood changed, I adapted, my brother adapted, and then we kind of stopped identifying or stopped paying attention to the Irish side of ourselves. And when my father died, we lost connection with that side of the family. and then eventually lost connection with my mother's side of the family. So we basically grew up, just the three of us, with no connection with our roots, no connection with Ireland, no connection with family. And my family became my neighborhood and the people in my neighborhood. And that became the family that sustained me, and I sustained them. And my mother too. My mother was, somebody who was a very special mom in the neighborhood. She would feed a lot of my friends and always be there for them. So, everybody took to her and loved on her. And so, we just had that kind of experience, and it was unique. So the Irish part went away, and I started to listen to soul music and Latin music and salsa music, and dressed with the styles of the time. I used to have, all kinds of wild colors that I would wear, and everybody, would kind of tease me a little bit, but everybody appreciated that I was just part of the culture. And so that was me. And I never went looking for roots, because roots had not been part of my growing up experience. So, it isn't like I was looking for the Irish journey. But that was a piece of it. And then, life is funny, and you wonder how life is going to take you, or when it's going to take you, when you're not trying to go somewhere. So, like I said, I went through a period of time until eventually my mother passed. I came back from Chicago. I was living in Chicago, going to school and doing some political organizing out there. Came back to New York, was with my mother before she passed. And then when she passed, that was kind of like a wake-up call for me, because I just realized that, me and my brother were still poor, and we had done so many things, and yet, we had not accomplished what we should have in life. So it kind of gave me another push in life. Christopher, it says, "Oh, luck of the Irish that I'm here." Yes, it is, Christopher. He said, "A small army of bagpipe players this morning, only in Utah." Wow, I would have loved to have seen that, Christopher. Let me just share that. And then he also shared many mixes of Irish, British, and Scottish from his family history, with a little bit of others sprinkled in. Well, happy St. Patrick's Day to you, Christopher, and thank you for joining me today. So this is a little bit of that journey. And then the other thing, and I'm going to try and see if I can pull it up, because like I said, I was really scrambling to get this show together. It kind of got away from me because I did trying to do two podcasts today, and still overcoming being sick for a week, which was rather ugly. But I'm going to try and see if I can pull up a video and show you as I'm speaking. And if I can, I will. All right. I think I may be able to do it, but I'll get that in a minute. Let me see. Let me hold on. The video wants to play. Problem is I don't have my voice. Let me stop it for a second. And let me see if I can pull this video up for you. So, like I said, this is going to be a real scramble making this happen. Let's see the video file. If we're going to get, no, we're not going to get that. But, New York at a certain point was, like every city, New York was a certain ethnic group, and then it changed. And let me see if I can grab that. And here we go. And let me share this song, which I didn't hear this song until I returned from a trip I'm about to tell you about. But let's listen to this and go with this.
I'll sing you a song of days long ago, when people from Galway and the County Mayo and all over Ireland came over to stay and take up a new life in America. They were ever so happy, they were ever so sad to grow old in a new world, through good times and bad. All the parties and weddings, the Kayleys and waves, and New York was Irish, full of joys and heartbreaks. We walked on the subways, we ran the saloons, we built all the bridges, we played all the tunes, we put out the fires and controlled City Hall. We started with nothing and wound up with it all. You could travel from Kingsbridge to Queens or Midtown, from High Bridge to Bay Ridge, from uptown to down, from the east side to the seaside, sweet summer scenes. We made New York City our island of dreams. They were ever so happy, they were ever so sad to grow old in a new world, through good times and bad. All the parties and weddings, the Kayleys and wakes, when New York was Irish, full of joys and heartbreaks. I look at the photos, now brittle with time, of the people I cherished when the city was mine. Oh, how I love all those radiant smiles, how I long for the days when we danced in the aisles. They were ever so happy, they were ever so sad to grow old in a new world, through good times and bad. All the parties and weddings, the Kayleys and wakes, when New York was Irish, full of joys and heartbreak. They were ever so happy, they were ever so sad to grow old in a new world, through good times and bad. All the parties and weddings, the Kayleys and wakes, when New York was Irish, full of joys and heartbreaks.
Now that right there was not my experience, but that was my mother's experience. During that period of time, that was, earlier than when I was, like I said, my last experience kind of being Irish was, first grade in St. Pius Catholic School, and then going to parades every year with my mother. So I kind of moved out of that identity and moved out of that world that my mother experienced. But, life is, like I said, life, sometimes you don't know where it's going to take you. And so many, many years later, after I grew up, and like I said, I wasn't searching for my roots. I wasn't in need of that family, because I created my own family, which was all the friends I've created in life, and it's a giant family. So it wasn't like I was missing or feeling like I was missing anything. But then somehow, somewhere, there was a phone call from my niece in New Jersey. And the niece reached out to me and said someone had reached her from England who said that she was our cousin, and that they wanted to reconnect with us, and that my aunt, who at the time was 93 years old, according to this person, and was alive in Ireland, and they wanted to talk to us about, reconnecting. Now, that, once again, none of us have had connection with any family, anyone. And so I was skeptical at first, whether who was this person and whether this was a real connection. And so I kind of, took it with a little bit of, let me do my research and due diligence, because I'm like, okay, what's going on here? This is kind of surprising. And then, I got connected with a person who was my cousin, her dad, Tony. And the woman who reached out is my cousin Sharon, but my older cousin Tony, she put him on with me, and we talked, and he was skeptical of me. So I'm like, well, if he's skeptical of me and I'm skeptical of him, like, are we really related? And then we went back and forth with trying to find pictures and sending pictures and doing some research. And finally, all the pieces started to fall in place, and it turned out we were indeed cousins. We were indeed related. And my aunt, my mother's youngest sister, the last one alive of her family, was, like I said, Aunt Maggie, was 93 years old, and she was alive in Ireland in County Mayo. So all of a sudden that became something like, what do we do with this opportunity that life just presented me with? What do we do with this new connection that, was totally unexpected, unplanned? And so, of course, for those who know me, I always say yes to any opportunity, any thing that opens up doors. And I'm always willing to go through doors and see what's on the other side. I guess it's a phenomena that's part of who I am. So we started to plan. So I started to plan with my family and with my niece and her family to take a trip to Ireland, which neither one had ever been to, had no clue what that experience was going to be like. And we put the thing together to head to Ireland in 2008, and then by Aer Lingus, and that was where we were going to go. There's Aer Lingus in the background. And so we made the decision to go to Ireland for this reunion with a family. And I got to put this up. This is the miracle person in my life, my cousin Sharon Burton, and she's watching this. And if this show is for nobody else, it's for her. So if no one else watches it and she watches it, but I know other people are watching, but she says, I'm sitting here laughing that you and Daddy were so funny that day. And what she's saying is both of us were too skeptical, Irish American guy going, okay, what's the scam here? And so luckily, both of us were skeptical enough to get past that and get to the point where we were like, well, hey, we really are cousins. And of course, she was pushing the whole thing because it was her. And I got to share that story too, because I call it, and I'm going to throw up if I can, a picture of a book that I created and took back with us to Ireland. Well, no, this is not the book I created, but this kind of is something I wrote later. It's called An Irish Miracle. And Sharon was my Irish miracle, is my Irish miracle, because Sharon found us and reconnected us. And that is almost miraculous. It's almost impossible. But under conditions of what she was doing and under was even more impossible. So Sharon was fighting some serious health issues, blood cancer issues, went to Ireland with her dad, my cousin Tony, to pray over there, to pray for her health. And she hung out with her aunt and my aunt Maggie. And Maggie asked her to do her a favor before she died. And Aunt Maggie asked Cousin Sharon to find out what happened to her two sisters, my mother Ann and her older sister Mary, who moved to America, that she lost touch with. And she always wished that she could have went with them. And she wanted to know what happened to her two sisters and wanted Sharon to find that out and find that miracle for her. Now, she was, like I said, 93 at the time. Sharon was sick, fighting her health issues with cancer. And then her dad, of course, being the Irish guy like me, we were like, her dad told her, well, you got enough things on your plate with your health issues. You don't need to take this on. And of course, Sharon, being the miracle that she is to everybody, she decided, well, why not take on another thing and make something else that's impossible happen? So she started this research on the internet, and somehow, some way, and I don't know how, it was like in a week or two of research, she found my niece, Jennifer, in New Jersey, and reached out to her on the internet. And then Jennifer reached out to me and said, what is this? And so that triggered this, what I think there's no other way to describe it, as an Irish miracle. And I did mention earlier that my mother never got her Irish American citizenship because she always had a dream to go back to Ireland. So there's a piece of this that goes, this all kind of came together for me to complete the journey back to Ireland that she never got to complete. And once again, I'm going to try not to get emotional, but once again, that miracle happened because of Sharon being the person who reached out and made it happen. And I will never forget that. And so that started us on a journey that took us back to Ireland in 2008. And this is a sign in front of it. I'm going to go a little deeper. I don't know how much time. I got a half hour. And like I said earlier, I do got the gift of the Blarney Stone. I do talk too much, but we got back to Ireland, even though it was our first trip, but we went home. We got back to our roots. We got back to, and it was funny. So this is a sign that they had up. They hung it up on the house that my mother grew up, but they also hung it up at our what they set up from us in Foxford on St. Patrick's Day, 2008. And it says, "Welcome home to our American cousins, 1932, which was the last time my mother and her sister Mary were in Ireland, to 2008. So they created this big sign, hung it up, and welcomed us back home. And it was back home because it was so bizarre in a way. I felt the music sounded like it was in my bones for all my life. The smells of peat. My mother used to tell me about how they would heat the houses with a turf and called peat. And I never smelled peat. We grew up with coal, and then eventually, they modernized it. But in our tenement, we had coal. They would shove a coal into the boiler to heat the tenements. So I had the smell of coal in my body. But the minute I smelled peat, it felt like I had smelled it all my life. And so all of that just kind of came back on an experience I never expected to have or never planned on having. So I put this thing together with the O'Donnell family reunion, Foxford County, families from Erie, from Ireland, from the U.S., from the U.K. and Canada, and in honor of Maggie O'Donnell, which is Aunt Maggie. And out of that, let me just get rid of the thing so you can read it. And in memorial to different people in the family who had passed, and this was put together, this book. And then we had this reunion. And then this is the picture of everyone who was there on that amazing St. Patrick's Day. My family, my niece's family, Sharon and her family, all the relatives in Ireland, all my cousins, and there's nothing that I could ever put in words that could describe how special, how miraculous that night and that trip was on every level. And like I said, it felt like I was living in a film that somebody had written, a Disney film, but it wasn't. I didn't expect to be here. How did I get here? And that was all because of Cousin Sharon. So it's amazing that this St. Patrick's Day, I shared a story. I wasn't planning on doing. I was planning on just having my guest on, which I was able to have as well. But because I had to have a backup plan, this was the backup plan. And then I said, well, why don't I do both? So this is me sharing that story. And then this is a picture with my amazing, mighty Aunt Maggie and my cousin Marie. And these are maybe the two most powerful women outside my mom that I've met in my life. And of course, Cousin Sharon, but you see a theme there. All these women are just amazing, powerful, happy, loving women who have impacted my life and impacted so many other people's lives. And here I am, thinking that all I had was my mother. And that was the only powerful, mighty woman in my life at that point, early in life, to go on to realize that she came from a lineage of all these other powerful Irish women coming up to today. So, if I don't feel blessed every day for all the things I've been given, this just reminds me of I couldn't get any more blessed. So that's, once again, a little bit of my story. I'm going to show you some more. And then, of course, this I have to show because we got to get funny a little bit. This is my cousin Sharon and her husband, Gary, and my cousin Tony. And we've had so much fun together in our trips to Ireland, because it wasn't one trip. I ended up doing, my family did 2, I did 3. And the times we spent together, and, particularly Sharon's cousin, Sharon's husband, Gary, who is a prankster like no other prankster. And just, a guy who grew up in Manchester in England, love him, man. Just an incredible guy. And then, of course, my cousin Tony, who is just such a storyteller, and he's shared so much of the history of Ireland with me and gave me such a love. So when I got back to America in 2008, I went on a binge to watch every Irish movie I could watch, because he just gave me such a love and passion for what had went on in the history and the culture. So I went on to watch probably 50, 75 Irish movies, and just kind of let it soak into me, so I could understand and feel it on another level. So once again, that's just some of the blessing, and I don't know what else I got so much I can do in this. I'm not going to be able to jam it all in, but that's always my problem. I think I want to do it all. So let me, excuse me. Let me just jump around a little bit. And if I'm going to try and throw up some pictures and then maybe pivot. So this is the house, and you saw it before with the banner. This is the house that my mother and her sisters and brothers grew up with her parents and lived their whole life. And it's amazingly, that's looking at it from one perspective. And I got a chance to walk through it because my cousin Marie still had it, and she used it for storage, or Pete, by the way. And then she has a barn behind it. And here's a picture from the sky of the house. On the left, there's a more modern house on the right that was cousin Marie's house, that was built in the 1970s. And that's where she lived, because up until the 1970s, they didn't have indoor plumbing. You had to go to outhouses. And that's the other thing, just, being here, going through this, getting the real story of my roots, my family's roots. I grew up in the South Bronx, a poor neighborhood. We grew up with very little. And then I realized that, in comparison, I had so much. I had so much more than my mother and her family had when they grew up. And it just put life in perspective on a very emotional, personal level for me about, people who live in rather, even in poverty, in a privileged world like the United States. Growing up in poverty is still such a privilege compared to people in other parts of the world, or historically in the past, especially. So, but it gave me an appreciation and an even greater sense of gratitude. So I came away with so much from that trip, and that's me in front of the house right there. And just once again, this is my cousin Marie, and I wasn't able to get the pictures, but she had us climb up the mountain next to her house. And, she's an older woman and she didn't make us climb up the thing. She kind of ran up, and I went huffing up and puffing, me and my family behind her, trying to keep up with her. She was what I would call an Irish goat. She could run the mountain, where I would basically barely have an ability to climb it. And, it was such a great tour that she gave us, and I remember the first night I met her when I arrived, and we went to her house, and she was a little intimidated by this guy from the United States, a relative of her from the United States, and had all kinds of, and when she came out, she looked just like my mother, and we hugged, and I started crying, and just realized that, we were the same, and all the material stuff and all that other stuff is meaningless when it all comes down to family, when it all comes down to love, when it all comes down to the more important things in life. And that moment, meeting her, is something that has sustained me throughout the years. She would send me cards. She would send me all kinds of things from the Catholic church that she went to, and and just prayers for her right now as she's going through health issues that she's struggling. So that's a little bit. And here's, I'm going to show some pictures. This is a picture of me, and I'm not sure, am I thanking God here for the sunshine? Because it didn't, we got more sunshine, I think, on our trip to Ireland than Ireland normally got. So I was very grateful for that. But I think I was also being thankful for all the blessings of being there and the miracle that it was for me. So that was just a picture of me capturing, saying thank you, thank you, thank you. And then here's another picture of, we were in Cousin Marie's house, and this is a picture of us. She gave us some illegal moonshine that they call poachine. And poachine is one powerful, I don't think it's, I've had a little moonshine later on in life, but this was more powerful than that. I mean, one shot, it was like an explosion went off in your stomach. And my wife right there, Jeannie, she had one shot. Of course, I had a couple more. And it, it's cold and freezing outside, but I was warm. And so that was us enjoying that illegal moonshine. And my grandfather apparently was a moonshiner back in the day. And he, basically was able to take advantage of that to help support his family. And moonshining was basically creating alcohol and not paying taxes on it because you couldn't afford to pay the taxes. So a lot of people moonshined to survive. And so that's kind of what led to that phenomenon in Ireland, like, typical in America. So here's another picture of me, and that's probably me thanking God for the the poachine moonshine that he gave me to make me warm. But that was a little bit of the journey. I'm going to throw up some comments as we go because people are commenting. It may be Sharon saying that I'm buffering. It may be just the connection there, the video connection, because it's not buffering here, or at least it's not showing me that it's buffering. And then she's telling me about some other stuff, which hey, you survived the gruel. That's another story, and I'll just share that in a minute. It's the attempt with Sharon's. Like I said, she's my miracle, but sometimes it has to do with gruel. So just to kind of get back to where I was going with some of this. So, I met the whole family. I was given, besides that thing here, they gave me a plaque. Cousin Seamus and his young daughter, they created this glass plaque, which I have hanging on my wall today, in Irish and English, welcoming us home. And that's something that was very special. And, then I went back a second time because once again, we went in March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, 2008. And my wife doesn't enjoy plane travel. And it was a rather, it's a long 13, 14-hour flight to Ireland. So she was kind of over that when we got back, and we toured all over, and I'll show you some of the tours where we went. But in a couple of weeks after I got back, Cousin Sharon calls me up and says, hey, and I remember where I was at the Getty Museum with my wife, and we were walking around, and she calls me up and says, you wouldn't think about coming back again in a while for another week or two. We're going to rent a farmhouse, and it would be great to have you all come back in May. So that was just a couple months right after that. And of course, what I said. I said yes. And so then I told my wife, Jeannie, I said, hey, we're being asked to go back. And she's like, you're not thinking of going, are you? And of course, I said, my head is going up and down. And I'm like, no. And of course, my head is saying yes. But yes, of course we did. And in May, we went back for 2 more weeks to Ireland for even more journey and more tour. But that, to take you on some of the tour, here's me in front of Ashford Castle. That was probably on the first trip. And here, once again, the miracle of this trip, every moment of it was a movie. It was, I just would go, I have to pinch myself all day long because we get to Ashford Castle, never been to a castle. I mean, they don't have castles in the Bronx. That's not what we're famous for. We're famous for a lot worse than that, trust me. But here we are, we're over in Ashford Castle. There's a rainbow over the castle. My 10-year-old daughter sees people fishing in the water. She thinks they're leprechauns. And of course, I'm going along with that program and saying, yeah, they're leprechauns. And, we get into the castle to check in, and, I had just a regular room. It was nothing fancy, nothing elaborate, not probably the least expensive room. And the people at the desk told me, oh, excuse me, Mr. Duffy, but your reservation kind of got messed up and we don't have your room available for you. So, being typical, I mean, American, we go, oh, and you're getting ready, like, and before you could get past that, she said, but don't worry, we're going to give you the presidential suite for the same price. So not only did I not, we lose my room. I got upgraded to the presidential suite where Ronald Reagan had stayed when he was president. And so now we're there for 2 days, I think it was, maybe 3, in the presidential suite in one of the best castles in Ireland. And then it doesn't stop there. The story just goes, are you kidding me? Who wrote this story? Because the next thing that comes up is, prior to coming to Ireland, me and my cousin Sharon had talked about this movie, The Quiet Man, with John Wayne, and her favorite movie. And I think I saw it, but I can't say it was my favorite movie. I mean, but I saw it, and it was a cool movie. But here we are over there, Ashford Castle, The Quiet Man. And now we go visit where that was filmed, which is a town, and this may or may not be the picture from that, but it's the only picture I could grab. It's a town called Caen, and it's, near Ashford Castle. And so we go there, and, at the time my daughter was riding horses. So we find that they have a horse ride where you go through the forest and you ride through all the existing sets where they filmed The Quiet Man. So now I'm riding with my daughter on horseback through the forest, past where they filmed The Quiet Man. And once again, you're going, okay, who wrote this script? I mean, none of that was planned. None of that was expected. So it just kept getting like that. And then eventually, after we just couldn't pack any more into that period of time, I went up north and got a chance to go through the house that if I can grab a picture, and I may or may not be able to, but if I can, I will, and we'll see, because I got so much on, try to jam so many things into this story. But anyway, we went to the house where my dad grew up, and I got a chance to walk through his house and once again see the difference. This is a picture, I think, of me in front of his house, and got to walk through the house in County Tyrone in Northern Ireland, meet my cousin, spend some amazing time with them, and just get connected on both sides of my family, walk through my roots, walk through my mother's house, walk through my father's house, all unexpected, all unplanned, and all going, okay, well, whoever wrote the story is a great screenwriter, and it's a great story, and it's a great experience. So this was given to me, and so that's kind of where we were going. And I got a little bit more, and then I'm gonna jump back to I'll try and what Sharon had mentioned was gruel. I got a chance to hang out with my her husband Gary at a couple of Irish pubs. They are famous for those, and me and Gary did imbibe of some alcohol. He forced me, or at least that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. He forced me to drink. I tried not to. I tried to resist, but he was stronger than me, and so we came home one night after him forcing me to drink a whole lot, and Sharon wasn't happy with the fact that we had did that, and so the next day. And right now, this I just have to do it. Obviously, I'm entertaining them. Gary's trying to deny it. He's looking for his lawyer right now as we speak. But Sharon, next day, she gave me breakfast, a thing called gruel, and I thought it was some great Irish oatmeal thing. Except she didn't make it the way she was supposed to, which is put some sugar in it. Please, the Irish love sugar. She put salt. So this was the most foulest tasting thing I had ever tasted in my life. And me being the diplomat that I am, as I'm taking, mouthfuls of it and just going, oh my God, this woman can't cook to save her life. She's asking me, how is it? And I'm going, oh, it tastes great. It tastes great, right? I'm trying to front that, I'm not dying of being poisoned right now. And I'm hoping that there's not poison in it, because it sure tastes like poison. And, she just starts breaking out laughing, and I realized that I got played there. So that's been a long standing thing between us ever since, because that was her way of paying me back, which, and once again, I'll just say it's not right, because it wasn't my fault. It was Gary's fault. Yeah, okay. I said it was my story, and I'm sticking to it. But either way, I had to eat the gruel, and I had to pay for that night. So it's been a great experience, and just some great stories. So that's a little bit of my whole life being, brought to a circle and coming back together again. And then, when I got back to America, I was able to reconnect with my cousins who, on my mother's side, who we lost touch with because of some interfamily problems, and reconnect with them and kind of heal that piece. So all circle, my whole life kind of got put together. My family came back together, new family came in, and all it kind of got resolved in a magical way that I take no credit for. I mean, yes, I always said yes to it. Yes, I always did everything in the middle of it to respond in a positive way and embrace it and be grateful and thankful for it. But I didn't write the story. I didn't create that all coming together. I just did my little part in it, and it just has led to my Irish miracle. And I'm just honored and blessed to have lived that miracle. So I'm going to just kind of, and I'm starting to, all this talking today is kind of getting to my, my cold that I've been fighting it. So Sharon is saying that her genuinely our grandparents would eat it with salt and water. Yeah, that was a long time ago, and they were tougher than me. So I'm sorry, but that I want sugar. I want sugar in everything. But so true. I mean, for her, it wasn't like she was poisoning me, but for me, it sure felt like poisoning. So there's that funny story. So I'm going to play something real quick, a little bit of it, just to give you a little bit of a journey that we went through. Because one of the things we did when we were on the reunion on St. Patrick's Day in Foxford, in the and I forget the name of the inn, but I'm sure Sharon remembers the inn that we were in. I hired a young man, once again, just trying to make something miracle out of this. I hired a young man out of East Europe who I asked him to just film this, the Mayfly. Yes, the amazing Mayfly. And right down in the main street in Foxford. And this young man, besides filming our reunion, he edited it, he put music to it, he created a video of it, and he gave us an incredible gift and another miracle. So I'm just going to play a little piece of it to give everybody a little flavor of how amazing this was. And let me see if I can pull that off. I'm going to share the screen, and then I'm going to share the window. I'm going to share that. And let's see if that comes up. And here we go. And let's see this, if I can pull this off.
The jolly beggar man came tripping o'er the plain. He came unto a farmer's door, a lodging for to gain. The farmer's daughter, she came down and viewed him cheek and chin. She says he is a handsome man, I pray you take him in. We'll go no more a-roving in the night. We'll go no more a-roving, let the moon shine so bright. We'll go no more a-roving. He would not lie within the barn, nor yet within the fire, but he would in the corner lie down by the kitchen fire. Oh, then the beggar's bed was made of good clean sheets and hay, and down beside the kitchen fire the jolly beggar lay. We'll go no more a-roving in the night. We'll go no more a-roving, let the moon shine so bright. We'll go no more a-roving. The farmer's daughter, she got up to bolt the kitchen door, and there she saw the beggar standing naked on the floor. Took the daughter in his arms and to the bed he ran. Kind sir, she says, be easy now, you'll waken our good man. We'll go no more a-roving in the night. We'll go no more a-roving, let the moon shine.
Calm down now. I can't wait to hug you. Can I have everybody's attention? You met me, I hope everybody, I'm John Duffy, and I want to drink a toast to what brought us back together. I said earlier, before I came here, I said I felt like I was going to my wedding. I was so nervous. And I'm feeling even more nervous right now. I usually don't feel nervous, believe me, but I do. But right now, this has been a miracle for me. And it started with Aunt Maggie. Because I don't know if you know the story, but a while ago, Aunt Maggie made a request of Sharon and said, please find out what happened to my sisters, my mom, Ann, and Mary, and find out what happened to them and their family, because I know there's family over there. And so this miracle, and I call it a miracle of us reunited, is because of Aunt Maggie. So my first toast is to Aunt Maggie for bringing us together. And then Sharon took that request and pulled off the miracle. And in 2 days with the internet, somehow, some way, and I don't know how she did it, but she found my niece Jennifer in New Jersey, and we began. So to Sharon, and I'm a miracle person. And somehow it took us a while to figure out who we were and whether we were really the family, because it was a little confusing at first. It's been a long time since we've been able to kind of figure out where we came from. And I grew up, my brother Patrick was back in New Jersey, myself, just raised by my mom, Ann, because our dad had died when we were 4 years old. So we grew up with just no family. It was just basically the three of us. So this is kind of to go from that in less than a month from when she called to be here today with a family and a great family. And I'm really proud and real happy to be here with everybody. So my daughter's gonna play a couple of songs, and then there's a rumor that Aunt Maggie's gonna join us in song, and I have some books of pictures that we put together, and Jennifer put a special book of pictures for Aunt Maggie. Please look at that. And that's, once again, to all the family that I've just found, and all the friends and everyone else. A toast to the O'Donnells. Thank you. Happy to be back.
My international family So come with me on a journey, and I'll tell you how all this began. It started with great Auntie Maggie, this lady born way up in Blanc. She sat there last August and told me the story of woe through her tears, how her two older sisters had walked down the hill, and it had been more than 70 years. I looked on the Ancestry website and slept very little that week. I sent out hundreds of emails. Too many a night I would weep. The tears of frustration kept coming. Then one day a posting jumped out. Cassini Mom had left a message, and with that I had little doubt. The emails were toing and froing, and I finally phoned Island to say, Auntie, I found Ali's children, and John sits with us here today. Then Jen and I looked for the Gavins, whom so far we just couldn't find. We wanted to do this for Auntie, so she'd finally have peace of mind. The long and the short is, we found them. A great team we made, don't you think? And for this we owe our dear husbands at least a very nice drink. And although the Gavins are not here this evening, for Auntie, her family's complete. I'd just like to tell you, dear Jenny, without you, I'd just have been beat. So everyone, please raise your glasses to our family from near and from far. I thank each and every one of you, and I'll see you all.
Hatred on St. Patrick's cold and frosty morning, as I tramped across that dark and dreary moor. It is when I remember mother's warning, as she plucked the three-leaf shamrock from Mayo. It's the king of all the flowers in Killarney, and the lights of it you never shall see more. For it grows around the rocks of Irish Blarney. It is that little three-leaf shamrock from Mayo. Oh, and as I crossed the broad Atlantic Ocean, I would love to ever the sunny American shore. There is nothing there that fills my heart with such emotion as that little three-leaf shamrock from Mayo. It's the king of all the flowers in Killarney, and the likes on it you never shall see more. For it grows around the rocks of Irish Blarney. It is that little three-leaf shamrock from Mayo.
Wow. So I think I have to end it on Maggie and on that. And once again, what a miracle. Right here is my miracle, Jeannie.
Happy St. Patty's Day.
Thank you. Thank you. And
My Irish
thank you, everybody, for watching this, who've watched it. And just realize this, I could go on. I got stories for days. My life has been like this. It's been blessed. I keep getting more and more blessings. I got on here my Irish pin that Cousin Sharon gave to me in Ireland. And so it's something that I've had since 2008. And so with that, I just shared a good part of my Irish journey. There'll be more. There'll be some of it shared in my memoirs and all that. But thank you, everybody, to my Irish family, to my all across the world, all my Irish friends. This is a blessed St. Patrick's Day. I hope you enjoy it. I'm actually maybe going to go out and have a Jameson, something I don't do very often, but I think I deserve it after these two programs today. It's like at least one Jameson in honor to Maggie, to my other cousin John, who's passed, and to my Irish family in Ireland and all over the world. I think I need to raise a toast, and like they say in Ireland, sláinte, and at least drink one to thank them and be grateful and blessed for my Irish miracle, my Irish journey. And I can't thank once again Sharon. Jeannie says, Sharon says, love you, Jeannie. She said, loves you too. Tears flowing. Hey, not as many as mine. While that video was going on, the tears, luckily the video was able to cover up my tears because, I'm not like Gary. I don't cry a lot, but, and that's just an inside joke. Anyway, to the O'Donnells, up the mighty family. Hey, who just jumped on? Catherine Burton. Oh God, hey Catherine, happy St. Patrick's Day. Just amazing. What? No, she's making a comment. Come on in.
Hey Catherine.
Yeah, just to see you back then and now see you grown up and married in your profession and oh Catherine, excuse me. I just spaced. I had a senior moment, Catherine. I just went old man. I'm like, wait, Catherine. Yes, Catherine's the little one who was dancing. She was dancing up a storm there, Catherine. So yes, you were dancing up a storm, and even back then you were taking the lead, dancing up a storm, and just being what an energy. So great seeing you in that video, and I hope everything's going fantastic in your world right now. And apologize once again for my senior moment. Oh God, I do need a Jameson's. Anyway, once again, thank you, everybody. Thank you to my amazing Irish family, Sharon, Gary, Catherine, Georgie, Tony, all the people back in Ireland, of all the names I can't remember, Seamus and John, and you name it. It just goes on. So if I can't say if I'm not blessed, I will always. Catherine says I'm not married. Yeah, I know. I got confused. Oh, I'm never gonna live this one down. I mean, between your mom poisoning me with gruel, now I got another thing that I'm gonna be like apologizing for a lifetime. Once again, I'm sorry, but yes, I know you're not. But anyway, I wish you the best, Catherine, and you always a blast. I have to say, that you always pulling pranks just like your dad. And we had so much fun on those trips. So it was great to know that you are part of our family and just like everyone else. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to take this St. Patrick's Day and just remind myself how grateful I am, how blessed I am. Erin go bra, and have a happy St. Patrick's Day until we connect again. And Slancha, and we'll talk soon. Take care.